So what exactly is a tabletop-ready painted miniature, and why is this term so often used in online forums and in YouTube videos? And more importantly, should you give a gosh darn about it? I've come across this term tabletop-ready a lot online while making my new Slaves to Darkness army, and I was surprised at how many people have a high and mighty attitude about what is an acceptable paint scheme for the tabletop. So I wanted to shed some light for new players on what exactly this term means, and if you should care about it or not, because in some cases, absolutely, you should, but for others, this is a term that really puts a self-imposed barrier around getting into wargaming in the first place. The term tabletop ready means your model is painted with at least 3 colors. This is the typical standard used in tournament play for most wargaming scenes, but not all. And if you look online for a place to go play wargaming, a lot of the expectation is that you come with a tabletop ready army, or at least that's what people say online. If you look at a lot of mini painters on YouTube, what they call tabletop ready is freaking showroom quality for a lot of average hobbyists like me. For example, my new Chaos Warrior is painted with 4 colors, teal, gray, black, and gold. This is barely above what is considered tabletop standard, and my Chaos Lord on Karkadrak is barely above this standard. But to me, this model is done. I need to base it still, but the Warrior is complete for me, but some people wouldn't even consider this tabletop ready unless the basing is done to the mini. So should I be allowed to play at my local game store's tournaments, or wait potentially weeks or months until I finish painting an entire army to participate? Well, that's what I kind of want to talk about, because honestly the answer varies, and I think I want to share a perspective for the new wargamers that could be valuable. Right off the bat, let's get something out of the way. If your group or group you want to join requests or requires you to have a fully painted and based minis, or you're doing a narrative campaign and people do care about how it's painted, respect that and try and get yours to an acceptable level for that group. There's nothing wrong with that, and if that's what your group finds fun, that's awesome. I'm glad you're having fun, keep it up. But will this unpainted mini lose to a quote fully painted mini because I didn't paint it yet? No, nothing changes. Your unpainted army can go against the most well-painted army of all time and open up a can of whoop-ass on them, or vice versa. Let's not set the expectation that a mini isn't ready to be used if it isn't tabletop ready. God, I just hate that term. I like the term tournament ready for paint schemes, because that's truly what it's describing. So let's do this. I'm going to show you a couple of different ways that I've painted armies and minis, and at what point my fun level reached its absolute maximum, which is of course what's most important. I got a couple of minis from Raging Heroes and the Sisters of the Orphanage line and put them together. They're sponsoring this video, so thanks to them for the minis. Now let's paint them. After they were put together, they were ready to be used on the tabletop. I mean, they function properly, but I can't call them tabletop ready yet. I'm going to take them out and prime them, 3 of which I'm going to prime with the Zenithal highlight, and 4 of which I'm going to prime pure white. Zenithal highlighting is just priming black, and then white on the areas that light would hit the minis. It's a great way to make shadows and highlights happen more easily in your painted mini, and honestly, it's a pretty great way to get some tabletop ready minis that look at, oh wait, I can't use that term, so these are just primed minis now. Well, okay, let's take a look at the white primed minis. I like to paint with contrast paint, so I often just prime them white. They look good white, but obviously we want to paint them to get them ready for the tabletop use. I mean, they wouldn't even work otherwise. They might even fall right through the table. So let's try 4 different painting styles. There's a painting style called a quick dip or a dip wash that involves coating a mini in a shade or a wash. This is often done with army painter washes because their washes are in paint cans and you can just dip the mini in and pull it out and you're done. Boom, it's painted. I don't have any of those paints, but we can just paint a shade onto them and get the same effect. After it dries, hot dang, we have a mini that we can see all the hidden details in, and it looks way better. Heck, it's not far off from a stone color scheme, which is super popular. But okay, is this grayish white that much better than a normal gray mini? Okay, so what if you did a colored shader wash for your mini? That way your army of blue minis is way different than that other player's army of red minis, and you can tell them apart super easy. You have a color scheme, using that term loosely, for your army, and can see and admire all the small details of your mini. But uh-oh, only one color, and uh-oh, no basing. Not tabletop ready. If I just wanted to get into the hobby, and I looked up if I could go play and meet new people, I don't know what the difference between an event and just playing the game is, so the answer is no. I can't play this game. I should just stop because I'm not tabletop ready. Now, if only the standard was called tournament ready so that I would understand, but oh well, I guess I'll go back to Candy Crush. Well, okay, gosh darn it, I'm gonna get a mini painted to tabletop ready levels. I'm going to paint this mini with my color scheme of iron, green, and red. I can always go back in and touch it up later, but well, I mean, I could, but I use contrast paints, and it's hard to recolor contrast. You really want to keep that white or zenithal prime underneath it. So I guess, for me, a beginner using these paints marketed by Games Workshop as paints designed to make painting easier and faster, I'd have to almost paint each mini twice if I wanted to eventually take it from tabletop ready to, quote, display ready. So let's just say I put all of the detail into this mini and paint a whole bunch more just like this horse riding sister, but I still didn't base the mini. It would essentially be impossible to tell that these minis are on the same team, right? Unless it looks like they're riding on realistic dirt. Look, I know I'm being purposefully argumentative and nitpicky here, but bear with me. Hyperbole is super fun to do. And okay, you know what? Screw it. Let's just go all out. I'm gonna try my freaking hardest to make a fully painted mini, a display ready mini. That way I only have to paint it once if I want to use contrast and not redo it later. I'm going to open up my airbrush because unless the gradient looks realistic, it looks bad. Good thing contrast work in the airbrush, otherwise I'd need to buy more paint, putting up another barrier to me joining this hobby. I'll color all the parts to the best of my ability and go back to color anything that I colored outside the lines on like a naughty little preschooler. I'll even make the spear look like Damascus steel, and I'll paint the face, but of course be too afraid to paint the eyes because I ruin that every time. I'll look up a DIY video on snow basing minis by a very handsome YouTuber so that my basing can look just right. I'll stress out about every little detail and hope that nobody comments on the fact that I had to color red over this yellow part on the wing because I dropped a tiny bit of brown on the feather, and I cry a little on the inside and out because it's ruined and nobody's gonna let me play with them if it looks bad. And finally, I have a fully painted, display-ready tabletop mini. But then I see what other people do on Reddit and notice that I don't have highlighting like they do. My eyes are crap, my golds are single tone. If I want to be a display level mini painter, this just won't cut it. I meet the tabletop ready, finally, sure, but is this what I need to be doing on 50 plus miniatures for an army? This mini took me 6 hours to paint, man, just a single mini. It's gonna be a year before I can play this game, a whole year. So I quit. I tried painting one mini, and the pressure to meet tabletop ready is just too much. Now, this was all obviously hyperbole, but in some ways it's really not. I have dozens of friends who all say that they would love to get into wargaming. They love the idea of playing Warhammer, but the idea of painting this many minis and meeting a standard that is beyond what they're comfortable with makes them never start at all. And so, I don't get to play with my friends. And that's the saddest part about the whole experience. So that's why I hate the term tabletop ready. It's too much, man. Want to know what my version of tabletop ready is? When the minis are put together and you can do the minimum required to play the game with your friends. It's all about playing the game to me, but that's not everybody. Again, if you want to paint like this every time because you enjoy painting, or the scene of a fully painted table is awesome, go nuts. But let me tell you what, if you think that I'm not going to play with this big ass dragon mini just because it's all gray right now, you are sorely mistaken, my friend. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say in this video. It's 100% an opinion piece. Do what you enjoy, but don't let other people online keep you from trying out this hobby just because it seems too daunting to get into. I've been to more tournaments just to watch people play, and I asked if I needed painted minis to join them, and everyone there has said, no way, man. Get your minis together and come play. We'd love to have you. And by the way, if you like the minis that you saw in here, check out Raging Heroes. They make injection molded minis like the ones I showed off, and 3D models to print like this dragon. It was so big that each wing took up an entire build volume on my 3D printer, and I printed it in the same Atlas resin that I showed a few weeks back. I'll put links to those down below. I hope you enjoy playing Wargaming your way, and I hope you were as welcoming to others as the people I have been lucky enough to meet in this hobby. Like everything in life, just enjoy the game. Thanks for watching. I hope that you have a fantastic day.